Hello, good morning, happy Tuesday, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied spirit Justin, somewhere way off in the distance. It's probably a Reaper John floating about also. But anyway, how is everyone? Yeah, I feel like I needed more tea. I did not sleep great last night, Crowley. And after like 2.5 weeks of sleeping amazing, like having a night of poor sleep like really hits you just like a gosh. It's just like wham upside the head. You're like, wow, did I used to exist like this all the time? Oh dear. Start now. Yes, trouble. Yes, trouble. You have the happy husky face. Morning, love. How's it going? Yay. Yeah, Sphinx time. It is Sphinx time. You're right. Yeah, so if I'm a little slow this morning and I drop stuff, sleep deprivation. Yes, yes. Yeah, I don't know. I just, I was one of those up and down nights for me where I just wasn't sleeping terribly awesome and I was up and down a lot. So yeah, it's one of those. So like I said, if I'm dropping stuff and generally being entertaining because of my bloopers today, just cut me some slack. Yeah. I know you guys, like, I sleep is really important to me to get a good day off. And so when I have a night of poor sleep, I'm just like, blurg. But that's all right. We now have a Sphinx. So, yeah, let's finish all that jewelry we started blocking out. Like, we are perilously close. Like, we got all the little gold done, and we got our reds. So now we just need to add our lapis and our turquoise, highlight them a little bit. I want to highlight some stuff up here that I didn't highlight before when I do that. And then, yeah, then we're good to go. Like, we can do her claws and her mane and her tail tip finally. And then if we have some time at the end, we can move on to getting this wing to look more like that wing. And then we're dang close to done. Like, I still have some blue highlights here, and I need to figure out where to put my blue in here, probably along the same thing. The wing feathers out of the tips. But yeah, we're getting really close to attaching her wings and actually having Sphinxy be done. And then we can just work on her base and dressing it up a little bit. And then Sphinxy's going to be completely finished. Like, what are we going to do? I really enjoy working on Sphinxy. Yeah, sleep is so important. Agreed. Is it acceptable to be sleep deprived because you're painting minis? Yeah, I did it for years. Go for it. Oh no. Oh, Quindy, that's funny. Yep. I would rather have it go that way, David Weir. I think we all rather would. Well, okay, if we all got what we wanted, we'd all be uploaded into the machine and, you know, exist forever and get to watch how it all turns out. All right, let me see here. I need some cyan and some surf aqua, which is my usual color for my turquoise. Let's see here. Nope. Need cyan blue. Not you, ultramarine. I know. You're such a happy little ultramarine, but nope. Where'd my cyan go? Here it is. It's hiding over here by my bird of paradise colors. Cat hat. I would never allow my cat to be on the pillow. He was okay, like curled up right here, but no pillow cat. He was grumbly about it, but he got used to it eventually. I am of the class of people that, you know, grew up training dogs, and so I am of the firm belief that cats can be trained, and so I do. But if you're trying to juggle like 4 cats, then you may not have the energy to train a cat, because it does take a fair amount of energy. Because your cat is going to be like, can I push it today? And if you have 4 of them, then it's going to be like, you're just like, I'm done. Okay, I give up. Sleep on the pillow. Interesting, Shadow Raven. I always have my dogs sleep in the room with me because of like the risk of medical stuff, like bloat, because I had shepherds. I wanted to be able to hear if something was going wrong with them, so I always allowed them to sleep in the bedroom with me. And they never got to be on the bed, but, you know, they had their own beds. I'm just a paranoid pet owner. Show upload. Oh, interesting. Oh, that sounds fun, Trouble. What network is it? Like, where can I watch it? David, there's a comedy about being out in a database while waiting for the technology to create new bodies to download your conscience into. Yeah. Like, where can I watch this, Trouble?
Life dramas.
But it's a comedy.
Do you like comedies?
Yeah, I can like comedies. That sounds fun. Especially since I would like to... Oh, your cats sleep at the foot of the bed? Yeah. Especially comedies about uploading my brain and waiting for a new body. Oh, interesting. Ah, I see. Well, that's fair, Shadow Raven. Do you? Yeah, it's mostly my paranoid pet ownership that... Amazon? Ooh, fantastic. So we have to look for the show Upload. Got it. That does sound funny. We can all be prepared for the inevitable. Always had spoiled right. Yeah, I have found that if you have children, like, you know, like how you treat your kids is very similar to how you treat your pets as far as setting ground rules and, you know, letting them get away with stuff and giving them treats. You liked Upload? Cool. Oh, you meant for kids. Got it. Well, I noticed much the same. It's like, people don't understand, like, they joke about, oh yeah, we got the puppy as practice for having kids, but they don't realize how true that is. I'm just going to do a 4-to-1 mix on the cyan blue and a 4-to-1 mix on the surf aqua. Just so it covers. Puppies eventually get to be, yeah, when dogs are about a 2-year-old, I think is what, but although they get the intelligence level, it was said of a 6-year-old. Like, there was somebody who did kind of an assessment on that and went, you know, dogs have they can't open doors, they don't have opposable thumbs, so they have the functionality of a 2-year-old, but the intelligence level of 6-year-old, when they're mature. Something like that. Yeah, some breeds are brats. Interesting, War Shadow. Yeah. Why am I not surprised there's a ton of TV shows about uploading your brain now? Oh boy, bookcase. That's, yeah. There were, like, there was an annoying cat at Reaper for a while. I forget her name, but she was one of the rescues that came and went through, and she was a cat that wanted to be up high, and so she would get in my office and knock miniatures off, and that was not so good. So I started keeping the door closed.
Did you ever read Altered Carbon?
No, I didn't.
I'm pretty sure I have it.
Oh yeah?
It's on the bookshelf out there.
Oh, well then. All right, so cool. Let's do some blue. If I look up here, I'm mostly using blue flanking my red. Let's see. But here I've alternated. So I am going to use, I think I'm going to do just a little bit of blue. I'm not going to overthink this, but I want to alternate blue and teal. So we're going to just, here, let me get in focus. I'm assuming I'm not in focus, Sphinxy. Get in focus, and then let us zoom in. Zoom. There we go. Hey, I went splat. Yeah, that's true. The puppy eventually grows up. Some kids don't. You are funny. Yeah, oh yeah. Dogs are smart animals. Especially labs are very food driven. So if there is food to be got at a level that the lab can figure out how to get it. Like, they don't come off as the brainiest dogs, but I think when food is in the program that they can be quite smart. There we go. Get some of that blue in there. Bone suntan skin as midtone. I would honestly, because it's canceled. Sarduki suntan is, unless they brought it back in bones. Or sorry, that was HD. Or is it? Did they bring suntan over to bones? I wasn't aware. I mean, it's a very good dark skin tone. If you were to shadow it, I don't know that I would use a particular shadow. I would mix russet brown into it. That tends to be my go-to color for darker skin tones to, Oh, okay. Yeah, I would just mix like a 50-50 russet to take it in. Russet brown is always a good answer. Like, the burnt umber color is always a good answer to darken, to shade skin tones a little bit. Oh, good. Love and music. Excellent. But yeah, and then the highlight it, go with tan skin, 9044. Because it's actually a variant on tan skin. Suntan skin, well, it should be, right? Suntan skin and tan skin. So suntan skin is a variant that's a bit darker and a little bit redder than tan skin. So tan skin makes an excellent highlight for it. So here it's just like, because you've got this white already in there, you just need to be really gentle with your, your touch to get the color into the area you need it. Cat chess, where the winning condition is to see all other cats while remaining hidden themselves. That's awesome, Kerniko. Yes, I'm glad you got your Reaper's Love. That's fantastic. Now you can play with them and learn to use them. They're a little different than other paints, because they're a little more fluid. They've got, they're really good at thin paint applications. Obviously, I use them for everything, but the thing that they really excel at is when you start doing, like, blending, layering, textures, washes, glazes. They're very good for that. All right, and I'm going to make these little guys turquoise, but I'm going to shade them with a little bit of lapis. Notice how, now this is a good example, guys. Notice how lighter colors, when they are applied in very small areas, you lose the color. Because I did paint this little gem, but it's really hard to see the turquoise, whereas the red and blue pops very well. So when you get a lighter color, it's less of a good accent for tiny things, because the color isn't strong enough to actually convey itself when it's that small. When you take the turquoise over to this big thing, then you can see the turquoise. No, ruddy brown is very different, and we'll take it quite reddish brown. It's not quite dark enough either. You could do it, Sarduki. It's just, it's going to be really, really saturated. I wouldn't do that, but you can. If you want to, I would recommend adding a tiny, and I mean tiny, tiny with a capital T, hint of black to kind of mitigate the intensity of the ruddy brown. Because otherwise it's not going to look, it's going to look weird in a shadow, I think. Because, I mean, suntan flesh does have a little bit of the same pigments that build ruddy brown in it, but so I'm going to add just a tiny bit of cyan to build a darker turquoise. And that color is much easier to pull off in a small area. Then I'm going to highlight it a little bit with my Surf Aqua. That'll make it more intense. That'll make it show up better. But yeah, I would probably use a bit of black mixed into that. So I would almost make a separate mix, I guess, a Sarducci. I would maybe do Sarducci, probably. I would probably do about 6 drops of ruddy, and then I would just do it like a half a drop, a tiny drop of black, mix it up, add that into your suntan to build a shadow. I think you'd be safer that way. I think you'd get a lot more natural shadow that looked better. That's the way I would do it. All right, we got our turquoise blocked in. Now I need some pure white so that I can highlight these little guys. Oh, I forgot my turquoise big dangle there. I'm going to get it in a second. And you really don't need to build highlights and shadows when you're working on things this tiny. Like, if you built a shadow, it should be a really dark blue, but you don't really have room to put a shadow in. That's why we lined around all of those little gem encasements, so that that could be our shadow. And then we just have to highlight. And I'm going to keep my white pretty strong for this. I need it thin enough so that it comes off my brush easily for a very small highlight, because you don't want to overwhelm what you've done. And I might be, like, just trying too hard on this. Maybe I should just leave them as is. But I tend to like to try to hit the tiny highlight if I can. And when you do it, don't aim for the middle. Aim for that upper edge if you can. So the 4:1 for the white. Paint to water. Hey, Val. Val, did you email me those 54s you were printing that you wanted some help with colors on? I meant to email you yesterday, and I didn't quite get to it on my to-do list. But it's the end of the month, so I want to make sure that I at least start on your critique. Or start on your coaching. And then we can catch up. Either that or I do an extra big one next month. I just didn't want to forget. Alrighty, so we've got our nice turquoise. I've shaded it with a little bit of cyan because I wanted it to look even more vibrant. So that's a trick. Now I can bring my white in. Now on these big guys, they're a little easier. I'm using tiny brush, by the way, since I want tiny highlights. I'm just going to use a little bit of highlight here, maybe a tiny little bit of highlight down at the tip. I'm less concerned with realistic highlighting here and more concerned with just making the jewelry stand out. Because it's so small. Like, you really wouldn't see any of these highlights if you were looking at a Sphinx from, you know, this distance away. Which hopefully you would not be looking at the Sphinx from much closer. Got a little bit too much onto that blue there. But you can just scrub it off and try again. Just with a little bit of water. White is forgiving that way, especially when you've thinned it. If you get it right away, you can just scrub off your improper highlight and then go back and try to make a smaller one. There we go. No, it's not. We haven't gotten there yet, Twisted Oma. We're doing the black, but I was waiting until I got all this jewelry done, because jewelry is the annoying part for me. So I always try to do the most annoying parts first, so that then I can relax and enjoy the rest. So I wanted to get all this jewelry taken care of, and I still need to hit some of these beads on the front. But then we will paint the rest of the mane here, going down the back, and the tail tip. And she still needs highlights and shadows on her tail too, which I haven't gotten to yet. I don't know if I have the oomph for that today. I may go to wings after this. Alrighty, let's see here. Let's get the turquoise in there. And the turquoise in there. And get some, I'm going to put a turquoise bead up here. If you have a bigger bead, like I do on some of these areas, your bigger bead should go turquoise since it's harder for that color to show up if it's smaller. And your tinier bead can go lapis, since that shows up much better. Oh, okay. Yeah. No biggie, Val. I mean, it's you. Like, honestly, like, it's all up to you guys whether you contact me for coaching. And I tend to be good and I chase you guys down, but in the end, it is up to you. And if you get behind 3 months, then we'll just deal with it and I'll do a super, like, long one or something. But I believe it's really up to people to contact me for their coachings. And if we get too far behind, then I'm going to have to, like, you know, seriously say, hey, because then it's going to take a severe amount of time for me to catch up. So I have to keep an eye on that. I just don't like to get too far behind. 1 month's fine. And doing a 2-month PDF just means I do a 6-page PDF. So it does take a little extra time, but it's doable. Alrighty. Let me get a little bit more. I'm putting a little bit of that lapis shadow on these little turquoises. And turquoise can have that color blue on it anyway, so I don't feel too bad about that. I feel like that's a pretty good choice. And again, just hit a little bit of a highlight. Just a little bit. We're just trying to make all of this stuff stick out. There we are. That's looking good. Little highlights here and there. Sweet. Excellent, Sphinxy. We look like we're pretty good. I want to put some little micro highlights on some of these other gems. But yeah, I really hate painting. The one thing I don't like is painting tails like this. The cylindrical tail is really hard to paint. So we're just going to figure it out. It's really short fur too, so we'll just mostly be blending and then suggesting some fur texture with brush stroke. But I feel like they're kind of a pain. There we go. And of course, if you make your highlight too big in each of these gems, it's going to take up so much room that it's going to look like the gem is actually white. So you got to be careful. Yeah, I hope that you feel better, Val. I know that when you get health stuff going on, it's hard to concentrate on other stuff. So feel free not to worry about it, and we'll just catch up. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't the one that was holding up the process. And I'm going to put just a little bit of highlights up here on these little gemstones. And tiny brush is pretty good for this, as long as the paint is coming off the brush smoothly. And with the 4:1, it actually is, so that's good. Because sometimes that might be a little bit thick. But with pure white, it's pretty good. There we go. And I want to add a little bit of highlight up on the torque as well. Because I blocked stuff in, but I didn't highlight it. And just adding a little bit of highlight can bring stuff up a bit. Make things look shiny. Oh, sinuses. Ugh, that's terrible. Sorry, guys. Pretty sure California will start trying to kill me soon. There's just this period where the wind kicks up and stuff goes in the air. I don't know what I'm allergic to out here, but it definitely like makes me run for the Benadryl. There we go. That's better. Sweet. Excellent. Sphinxy is all shiny. Good shiny Sphinxy. Oh, except for the top here. And when the paint starts not wanting to come off the tiny brush, you must reload or rinse and reload. And maybe thin your paint down a little bit. If you only mixed up a little bit of it, and it's like half an hour later, you may need to rethin. There. Good. Excellent. Sphinxy! Yay! January 1st, December 31st, yeah. Really, that's interesting. Maryland, actually, my allergies went away when I was out east in Maryland. I was north of Baltimore, Cookie. That was the only time since I was 10 years old that I didn't have to take a Zyrtec every day. Or, you know, or at that time it was ActiFed. Hey, Neosho! Thank you! Thank you for the resub. 19 months. Fantastic. The only place you don't have bad allergies is San Francisco. Yeah, my allergies are pretty mild out here in general, except when whatever it is, there's just one thing out there that makes my throat want to itch. Yeah. Cranston? Depends. Like, the wing is right there. So if the light's coming from the front and the top, so there we go. No, not really. The wing is right above the tail tip. So there'll be a shadow on the top of the tail, but this part will still be pretty highlighted pretty standard. Oh, you're just outside of Baltimore off of 95. Cool. Yeah, I lived out in that area. I lived out in north of Baltimore. I was up in White Marsh. When I was working for Games Workshop and doing freelance. I was working for Games Workshop like 10 hours a week to get the employee discount, and I think the other wing is going to be just fine. Hold on, let me double check. Double check positioning of other wing. Yeah, really, this is very clever because the shadow is really just falling on the top of the tail, and otherwise, like, both sides of the tail have pretty good lighting. So oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, me too. When I didn't want to go down to... I used to drive down to... When the headquarters was in Glen Burnie, I would drive down to the Battle Bunker to paint, since I was paint freelancing at that time. All right. We definitely have some areas where I'm getting rub off on the ends of this wing. So once Sphinxy... See, just a little bit of rub off. So once Sphinxy is completely assembled, what I'll do is I'll go through and touch up all of the areas where I can see rub off. And then put her aside and work on the base. And in that way, like, that's very little rub off. All like the little tiny tips of the wings. She doesn't have any rub off on her head or her arm. She has a little bit on the back of her arms, which is really easy. We'll touch that up when we do the tail. I've got some fur that I didn't block in there that I'm going to block it in. Probably in rich leather because it should go into the wings. You can see that spot that doesn't have anything on it. Actually, I missed some jewelry there, too. So let's fix that. Sometimes you just miss a spot. You gotta check your sides. Just goes to show you gotta check your sides as well as your obvious viewing angles. Hey, Genuine Vision, thanks for the raid. Hi, everybody. So I'm Anne, and I work for Reaper, obviously. I do their morning show here. We do this show every day, but with a different model. We actually have like a 6-model rotation, so we are actually working on finishing things. But anyway, hi. Hi, everybody. Oh, wait, guys. Oh, okay. Yes, today is my David and Anne anniversary, but my Reaper anniversary will be in 2 days. So this is Sphinx, and she's by Julie Guthrie, and we've been finishing off her tiny jewelry. And I'm dropping her cards. So yeah, this is her. That's her number. So she's a Bones model, which is our plastic line. And over the last several months, we've been working on her wings. So you guys can see what I've been working on. So we've gotten the wings pretty much done. I need some touch-ups, obviously. Got some rub-off on the plastic. And I want to finish highlighting some of the blue. And we've got to finish the inside of one wing. And then add a little bit of blue, probably. These wings are actually based on a real bird. They're the African Harrier hawk. So I used a reference photo for the patterning on the back and on the underside. Oh, cool. Basing tutorial. Nice. Yeah, Sphinx has her own basing. She comes with it. So we have been doing a little bit of basing here on Pro Tips as well with some green stuff work, but on different models. But yes, it is a happy anniversary for David and I. 2 years. 2 years of being together.
Happy anniversary.
Yes, happy anniversary. There you go. But yes, so there we are. We're on Sphinx. We have to do her claws. She's almost done. I need to bring the blue highlighting down onto her mane and back, and we need to do her tail tip. But we've been finishing up some of the jewelry, and I just realized I missed a spot, so I'm touching that up now. But thanks, Neo Show. Yeah, I like Sphinxy. I'm very happy. I'll be very sad when we are no longer painting Sphinx. I think Mushroom. I think our fungal queen is taking up the slot after Sphinx. And then we also, for those of you who are rating who may be new to me, we've also been working on things like, this is another one that we've been working on, which is our living statue, which is almost done. So she's turning to life from being stone. So she's stone on that side, and then she's living on this side. But she's almost done. So pretty soon we'll be replacing her with a wyvern. And yeah, I've got a whole bunch of new models starting up soon. Actually, everybody seems to be getting done like at the same time, even though I'm trying hard to stagger it. But yes, thank you, thanks, Nalind. Yeah, I think she's coming right along, and I've liked her since the beginning. I think that she's a really charismatic model. She paints up really well, so really, really good. Let's fill in that big panel. I'm just gonna go turquoise with it. So I'll have a little bit of gold to touch up as well when I do the tail. So we're doing turquoise, lapis, and carnelian, which is the traditional, and onyx. All traditional stones used in Egyptian jewelry. They also used a lot of colored glass. I really love Egyptian stuff, so ancient Egypt stuff, so I have some nice reference books for this stuff. There we go. Just blocking in this big turquoise bit. I'm going to give it a bit of a shadow with the lapis and get these guys more solid. More turquoise. Yeah, that was kind of my aim. I wanted to make the shadows look and highlights look really realistic on the fur, on the both on the forelimbs and on the hind limbs. But yeah, I'm glad it looks that way. It's just got a nice realistic shadow. And that's just really mixing, I think it's just russet brown or brown liner into the rich leather and applying it just strategically to make sure the shadows are dark. Hey, Crows and Bones, how's it going? Long time no see, or at least a little time no see. Gonna shade some of this with some darker blue. And then we'll bring up a highlight. Oh, I got a little bit of paint on her elbow, because it happens. I'll have to touch up the elbow anyway. Many touch-ups, not as many as I would think though. Like mostly back of the arm, tips of the wings. When you're working on a big model, it's not unusual to have to touch up some stuff that gets rubbed off accidentally. It happens. So really my last pass on a model like this, I better let that set, is going to be just kind of a touch-up to fix areas that I see have kind of rubbed off or had problems like that. Neosho, it depends. I was thinking of selling this one. And if so, yes, I will seal the figure because anything I ship, I always seal. If I was just keeping her, I wouldn't. Because she's like a display model, so she's going to get very little handling. Even if I decided to use her as an encounter in D&D, like, she'd get very little handling, so I find that Master Series sticks really, really well in general. Like, the fact that I've been painting this for weeks and I only have those couple of spots of rub-off is, I think, a testament to how well Master Series paint sticks to bones. But if I was going to ship this to somebody, then I would definitely seal it. Just because the travel can abrade surfaces more easily. So I would seal her at least I use brush on sealer because it's a lot more flexible than spray. And it also has a finish that's closer to the actual paint. So I'm just using I just use brush on sealer, as I said. I mean, I also, if I use a spray sealer, it's usually Tester's Dull Coat. Where is my sealer? It might be hiding. I keep 9107 around here somewhere. But it's currently hiding. But yeah, I use Reaper Brush on Sealer 9107. It also is great for making washes and glazes. Although I usually use just for washes, not glazes. But I like, okay, so the reason I like Brush on Sealers better, and that includes like Vallejo, Reaper, whatever, not Games Workshop because that's a really shiny and harder one, but the satin, the more satin or matte sealers, is that they're more flexible. So if you've got a plastic model like this where things are maybe going to flex a little bit, or like even a metal model with a thin sword or staff, if that bends, then the paint is going to be inclined to flake off, right? So, but brush on sealers tend to be a little bit more flexible. So they do not crackle and flake nearly as easily. And so what I've found, and this is direct experience from working with Dark Sword, is that my Dark Sword miniatures are a lot more durable. If something bends a little bit, if I brush on sealer them, it's going to actually just, the paint will stick and they can just bend the sword back. Whereas spray sealers are more brittle. So that's just my experience. It's up to you, but that's why I use brush on. That, and like I said, the finish of the brush on sealer is very close to the paint sheen. I hate using a dead matte because it'll like just kill all the vibrancy of the color, and I don't like using a shinier coat either. So for me, brush on is kind of the best middle. But yeah, if she was just staying with me, I wouldn't seal her. Not really like necessary in my opinion. All right, so that's good. That's good. What do I want to do? I think we'll do the tail tip and the mane and the claws. So where's my pure black? There it is. I don't often use pure black, but for Sphinx's Egyptian hair, it definitely was necessary. And I'm going to do the tail tip, get a few drops of pure black in my palette. And I've already got my cyan blue mixed up, which was what I was using, cyan blue and white, to highlight her mane. So we've already got colors we need. So it's a good time to do this. It's also a good time to put some blue on her inner wings. Figure out where our blue spots are going to go. Probably the same. Here we got a blue spot and then 2 lesser blue spots, but I didn't repeat the light feathers on the inside because the bird itself doesn't. So I'm probably just going to do like 3 feathers, like these 3 feathers here. And I believe... Let me see. Like I said, no sleep and dropping things. I told you it was going to happen, guys. All right, so if we fit wingsies, the Sphinx's wings on, then we can see kind of... All right, so her position is kind of like that. So if I put some black or some blue here, we'll be able to maybe barely see it. Yeah, we can see it. It's just a little bit, just little touches. So I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't in an inconvenient spot, but it'll probably be pretty good at bringing the eye around the model if we just put it on these last 3, because she's got blue up top. So then you always want to repeat your accent color around the model. So I'm going to do some blue out here and some blue out there. Oh, and Sphinxy is going to stick to her wings and not her base for once. There we go. I will glue her down, I swear. Just not yet. All right, let's block in these claws. I've decided to make her claws black. Do you like the power palette? Crows and Moans, that's ancient. Like John Bono did that when he was working at Reaper. We worked on it together. I've always found that it has limitations because the swatches that unless they updated the swatches, which could be, I don't know. But if they're still using the old swatches that we did, those swatches were originally tuned for printing and not to be identical on the screen. So if they're still using the old swatches, what you'll find is just take those colors really as a suggestion. And every once in a while, you're going to go, really, that color? And remember that when you're using the power palette, you might just accidentally like click on a pixel that's a little bit weird or off in the photo, that has an odd reflection on it, or that looks a little greenish instead of pinkish, or whatever you're expecting. It'll be odd, right? And then the power palette's going to give you some very odd responses. So click a variety of areas and make sure that you're getting kind of the similar, and then use your own brain, right? Say, oh, it's, well, that looks more like orange brown, but it's telling me to use tan skin. If it looks like orange brown, it probably is more like orange brown. So, so I always thought it was a very useful tool, especially if you upload like just like a photo of a piece of art that you want to kind of use the color scheme of, and just click around, but then you have to use your brain. Like, because you might, click on an area that accidentally is a little more olive instead of bright green or something like that. Especially if you're like importing somebody else's paint job or like a piece of fine art that you want to copy the colors. Yeah, it's a good jump start. Max Styles has it in spades. It can give you a good ballpark to work from. I always liked putting like pieces of fantasy art in there where I really liked the color scheme and wanted to see kind of what was close. Now, of course, after working for Reaper and mixing the paint for so long, I can pretty much look at I am a power palette. I am your mobile intelligent power palette. So yeah, I can just look at it and tell you what color is close. But if you haven't gotten to that point yet, it can be very useful. I mean, we really were excited about it when we launched it because we thought it was going to be really useful for people. And we were kind of sad when we took it down, but there were just other priorities. So my answer is that the Power Palette has been endorsed by Anne for over a decade. It's just that it hasn't been out for a while. And like I said, it doesn't solve all of your issues. You still have to use your brain. Like if it's giving you a weird color, and it will sometimes, you could go with that weird color, or you could say, actually this looks a little bit more like X than Y. And you will probably be right. There we go. Black claws. I thought about making them light, but since her stonework is going to be brought up light, I want contrast. So I decided to go very dark with her claws. And just do a little bit of highlight on them. Shiny highlight. Because the stonework in it is going to, get highlighted up probably with desert sand. So it'll actually come up quite a bit lighter. And so the black claws will show up against it a lot better than white claws would. Oh, the Brion blue, yep. Yeah, I could have told you that. Although you can also get pretty good responses using Ritterlich plus white. But yes, yeah, it'll tell you in general. It's very good at telling you a close color if the color is obvious. Where it tends to split hairs is if you're clicking on weird muted colors. That's where it can get a little odd. So yeah, if you get a weird response, use your common sense and click a slightly different area of your picture. All right, I'm going to mix a pale blue just to do a starting, just a little bit of a highlight on her claws. Ah, that's too much. I may need to go a little bit gray blue. That's smart, Anne. Why didn't you think of that in the first place? That's what you like to do to highlight black. So I'm going to go a little grayer with her claws than I'm going with her mane. Here, I'll show you guys the color. Ah! I should never try mixing paint with tiny brush. It's not a good idea. Hey, Shuttlestop, how's it going? So the color that I've gotten is that, which is a lovely gray blue, and that is just cyan blue plus black plus white. It'll be a little bit more earthy than her mane. That's okay. I'm all right. A little bit more muted. But you can still see the blue in it, so I'm okay with it. So I really just want to suggest a little bit of kind of the light hitting each claw. And then I'll do a white highlight in addition. And I'll make the highlight a little broader up toward the top of the claw and a little more narrow as it goes down the claw. Just enough to bring out some of the claw. And then if I need to, I can minimize that highlight if I decide it's too big. Let's see here. I am sleepy, but okay. Today is my 2-year anniversary of being with David. And David's 2-year anniversary of being with me. So it's good. It's a good anniversary day. And he's cooking tonight, so we're excited. We're trying a new recipe. Chicken kebabs. Because he's good with the grill. I think we're doing Middle Eastern. He put the chicken in a marinade last night. Thanks. Yes, but Shuttle, in 2 days is my 18-year anniversary of working with Reaper. On April Fool's Day, 2003, I began working. I showed up on Reaper's doorstep in Louisville. Hoping that Dave wasn't going to tell me it was all a joke. Hello, Harumphenstein. This is actually the Reaper. It is the Reaper dark skin tones from Bones. So it's ebony flesh, which is 9440, I want to say. And then with ruddy flesh as a highlight, which is kind of my standard. Like, I love my dark skin tones that I created for Bones. I think they look really realistic. So those are the colors, and then brought up a little bit more, probably with some NMM gold highlighter. Lemon yellow is what I typically use to bring up that ruddy flesh golden skin tone a little bit higher. And then I think we may have used some purple or blue liner to shade a little bit. But yeah, the Bones skin tones, I mean, it's a little bit, you got to remember not to mix them because there's enough yellow in the ruddy flesh that, and there's enough blue in the ebony flesh that it'll go a little bit green if you just mix them. So the answer is to do ebony flesh at the start and then highlight with the ruddy flesh over the top of it. And then you can avoid it going green, but you get your nice golden highlights. So yeah, those are actually strictly out of the bottle colors, so no funky mixes. Well, except for the funky mixes I had to make to, create them in the first place. Now a little bit of extra highlight at the top of the claws. I'm using mostly pure white mixed with just a tad of this blue-gray that I mixed up. That'll make them pop out a little bit more. Again, I'm using tiny brush, so I have to reload it pretty frequently. Tiny brush is good for tiny details, but it does have the paint dry in it very quickly or get tacky. Cool. Yeah, and they work you can use them in either order, Harumphenstein, and you'll get very different results. So Sphinxy, here, I can even show you. I've got an example. So Sphinxy here, we started with the ebony. So we started really dark. But, hold on, let me get Zari. But with my friend Zari here, our bard, we started with the ruddy flesh and we shaded with the ebony. And so you can see the difference in that this is a lighter brown skin and this is going to be a darker brown skin. So you can work it either way, and the difference is what you base coat in. And use a white undercoat. If you want this lighter golden brown skin tone, a white or light gray undercoat for sure. Because it does matter. If you start with a black undercoat, you're going to end up more like this. That's why starting with the ebony gets you the starker tone. Let me put Zari back. she's a useful example for that. Alrighty. Excellent. 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 Got to keep highlighting these paws. Yeah, they're really good skin tones. I'm glad you are going to give them a try, Hornstein, because I put a lot of work into those because I was never super happy. Like it's okay, but the original dark skin Triad, I wasn't as good as at paint creation at that time. And so I was mostly basing it off of things like Games Workshop's Dark Flesh, and then I was kind of like winging it. But for the second time, I wanted to really nail African skin tones and brown skin tones in general, darker brown skin tones. And so I did a lot of looking at people and kind of like making mental notes of what colors I would use to get a realistic tone. And we've actually gotten emails at Reaper from people of color, like thanking us for finally putting out a really realistic dark skin color. So that's really like that to me. That's the ultimate compliment. If I have somebody who's just super happy because they feel like they can finally paint somebody their color, like an adventurer their color, then I'm all about it right there. That's what we're going for. And then we also have, in the original line, we also have the Golden Skin Triad, which is actually the Asian Skin Tone Triad. And I've been pretty happy with those. I still use them when I'm doing an Asian ethnicity model. We created them about the time that we had the Legend of the Five Rings license. So it made sense to have. Hey, another one. Wow, Romfig. It is the day for raids. We are working on Sphinxy. I'm just highlighting her little claws, and we're about to finally paint her tail tip. And after that, I'll decide whether I have the oomph to tackle the fur on the tail, which is the only part of the model I haven't painted yet. Because cylinders are hard, darn it, and that tail is a cylinder. Oh, okay, yeah. Good, Herumfenstein. Yeah, I don't like dislike my initial dark skin Triad. I was just a little dissatisfied because it didn't let me get like a certain range of skin tones that I was seeing. I just felt like there was still room for a different set of colors, and so I'm very, very happy with them. All right, got to put a little highlight on those claws. Yeah, olive skin. Yep, that was another one. Anything that's later in the series for skin tones, like olive skin is in the 220, 221 range. All of those colors, I really was starting to like seriously look at skin colors and try to analyze like what made them work, right? And the olive skin's a hard one to pin down because it is so very golden. And you have to really back off any red, but you can't make it flat. It was challenging, but I like the olive skin Triad as well. Alrighty, last set of claws up on the paw here. We're a little bit out of focus. Let's get in focus for the paw. I'm going to put my hand up here, and that should get us in focus. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Ah. Tuesday. We're almost to April, everybody. April's a big month for me. I have a lot of stuff to get done for my Patreon. And if Sphinx here gets done, she'll be up for sale on my Patreon. And it looking like she might get done in time. She needs to get done by the end of April. No, it's usually distribution. Herumfenstein, what happens is that distribution tends to carry the most popular colors. So then if it only carries one box of olive skin, then it's not going to have it when your store orders it and another store orders it. Or maybe it's been out of that color and it's not as frequent a restock color so that they don't carry it and they have to order it from Reaper. And if they don't order it, then they're going to tell you it's out of stock. The real test, Harumph, is to go to reapermini.com, go to our store, and see if it's available. If it's available straight from Reaper, it's not discontinued or out of stock. Now, we did cancel some stuff. So, but I don't think that those colors were canceled. So, that's a little bit too much blue on that claw. I'm going to get in with some black. But yeah, for years, Reaper has been very frustrated with distribution for this reason, is that they tend to just not want to carry stock of everything, and so they just tell people, oh, that must be going out of print, and it's just really annoying. But it's essentially to get them off the hook, because distribution has a limited amount of space to carry all the stuff they carry, and Reaper does, we have a crap ton of paint, so most distributors aren't going to carry all 500 colors. They're going to concentrate on the ones that they flip fastest. And sometimes they may decide they don't want to order a particular color because they think it's just going to sit in the warehouse for forever if it's not a commonly ordered item. That is the reality that we live in. So if you ever can't get a paint from your local game store and it keeps giving you the distribution tail, it probably was, or the, out of print tail, it's probably something the distributor told them, and you should just go to reapermini.com. We have free shipping. If you're in the US, we have free shipping over, $35, guys? I don't remember. And we do have distribution centers in Australia and the UK as well, to make it easier for you to order if you're not in the US. There. Shiny little claws. I like the shiny little claws. Yay, shiny claws. All right. Excellent. Sweet. Now we have tail. Tail. And now I'll get back in focus here. $40? Yeah. Yeah, well, that's because shipping has gone up. You can blame shipping services on that price increase, Shadow Raven. Because, I was shocked, during the pandemic. And the problem with it is it went up during the pandemic. And I doubt they're going to back down on the pricing now that we're out of the pandemic. So it's like all these shipping companies raised their rates and people had to pay it. And I don't see them going back on that. So sadly, yeah, we tend not to raise rates unless we have to. Ed is very conscientious about not gouging you guys, not gouging the customer. All along, he has wanted to make the hobby more affordable. Reaper started with that kind of that as part of their mission statement. That's why Reaper miniatures were really, really affordable. We used to package them in little baggies, right, for $2 or whatever when we started. Ed has always wanted to make the hobby affordable for people. And so when it comes down to things like hiking shipping rates or raising the rate at which we can offer free shipping, you can be pretty sure he's tried everything to make it work. And if he comes to the conclusion that we have to raise it, he's going to do it, but it's just because we can't lose money on it. Ed, that's where having Reaper is run by accountants. For those of you who don't know, Ed and Dave are both CPAs. Those are the Pugh brothers, and you'll see them on Reaper Live if you tune in. And the fact that Reaper is run by accountants, although sometimes frustrating, is also the reason it's still around when so many other miniatures companies have failed. So, hey, Gallowfire. I am sleepy today, but pretty all right. Pretty all right. And hey, I can catch a nap later, maybe, if I get my other stuff done. So I'm going to get some rich leather out, guys, which is kind of the skin, the kind of the first shadow of her fur tone. It's that color right in there, that really rich color. You can see that it matches with the color on my brush. It's a really nice shadow color for golden furred animals. Cool, Saruki. Yeah, we try, right? The best any company can do is try. And we would much rather make it easier for our customers to say yes. So, Reaper in general is conscious of that. But we've also learned the hard way through our Kickstarters that it's easy to take a bath on shipping. So I think that the bosses are probably pretty vigilant about that. And I'm going to actually get some of this black and do some kind of fur texture here. The fur kind of goes in here. Since I've got some of this rich leather down, I'm going to make some little strokes like fur to kind of blend it in a little bit. See how that blends a little bit better, rather than just being a straight mark of, transition here. So I can use little strokes in the direction of the fur to bring the fur a bit more in line with what it needs to be. I'm going to put a dark shadow here. I'm going to put a dark shadow under here. Really dark. This, over here, this was probably brown liner mixed with the rich leather. Now I've got a little bit of black, so I'm just pretty much using a very small amount of black. If you're not sure where to put a shadow, you can always use your light source that you're painting under to kind of tilt it. Tilt the model, line it up with your light source, see where the shadows actually fall, and then paint what you see. Just to make sure your shadows are placed correctly. It's the best tool you have, is like having an overhead desk lamp, or you can just hold the model up and judge as to whether you've done it the way it should be. Her wings kind of go out like they cover up this, and they might cast a little bit of a shadow here, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to block in the general light, and then when I put the wings on, I can put in any additional shadows. I'll try out the wings on her in a second. But getting these shadows on is nice. Get a little bit more black. Normally I don't mix black with rich leather, because the rich leather has a lot of yellow in it, which means that it tends to go a bit greenish. But if you go very minimal, just a tiny amount of black, you can get a good realistic shadow. Just got to avoid the green. Hello, Estrogene. Oh, good. Good, Deborah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's nice when they can tell you, right? Because then, and it should help Reaper also. So, okay, so let's put this up here now. You can see that there is definitely a shadow from the wing going right around there. So we're going to block that in. And it's not going to really be on the back. It's more on the front of the wing, because light will fall down here pretty well. So I need to make sure that I keep my top of my wing more of a golden color. Or top of my tail, sorry. Tails, not wings. Ah! I'm going to just bring in a highlight. Kind of wet blend it in. And sometimes this is the easiest way to just set up cylinders like this. Like, cylindrical shapes can be hard to highlight sometimes, especially when there's stuff getting in the way of the light source. This is not a shiny cylinder, happily, so it's a little bit simpler. But I usually will try to get my highlights and shadows blocked in before I suggest texture. Texture is like, if I was going to do a fur texture on this, because it's really short fur, right? Then I would do it at the very last step, pretty much. So I just want to get that highlights in over here. And if I have to blend in a shadow and highlight, I'm going to use a brush stroke that simulates the direction of the fur, which we have a little bit of sculpted fur going onto the tail here, and it goes, usually with animals' tails, it'll go straight out on the top, and then it kind of goes down at an angle and grows out toward the bottom, and you can see that kind of in the way that Julie has sculpted the fur here. So when we put in some actual texture as our last step, we'll be mimicking the direction that the fur is growing to make it look right, which is what we actually did over here on the haunches as well. There are little brush strokes to suggest fur growing on these short areas, short fur areas, and then the longer fur you're able to paint normally. I mean, Patreon, I focus on very specific lessons, Ty. And it's usually, I'm not painting a mini from start to finish on Patreon, because except for the paint along, which is more in depth. But Reaper that's on the Reaper list to do, but Justin has an awful lot to do. So right now, the best thing I can tell you is if you go on Reaper's YouTube and you type in 77576 in the search function of Reaper to search Reaper, it's going to give you all of the Sphinx videos. Because Justin is pretty persnickety about adding the item number to the... oh, no, stretches should have happened like at 20 after. Between 20 and 30 after, so it's stretch time. Ha ha ha, that's fine. We will put down Sphinxy for a moment. Let you guys stare there at the pretty wing, and I will get up and... now's a good time also to touch up that arm, because I have colors out that are a good touch up. Yep. Yeah, so you should be able to go on there and see it. And I do most stuff for those models on stream for Reaper. Some stuff I may finish off camera, especially like when I'm just finishing up bases and I don't want to spend an hour and a half talking for 10 minutes about a base and then starting a new model. So, but in general, you can do that, Ty. All right, stretch time. If you've been sitting for more than 45 minutes or an hour, please stand up. Remind your spine what way it actually works. I really like the interlace my hands and then put them up over my head stretch. Let your head fall back. It's really nice. It's very good. Oh, stretchy. Yes, but thanks for the reminder there, Pendrake. And other arm. But yeah, for the otherwise for my Patreon, it's the Paint Along tier, which is the $15 tier, and everybody gets to choose the model. We do polls to choose the model, and then I paint. I paint it. Lately, the one that we're doing, we did a Dragonkin Rogue from Dark Sword for the first one I ever did, and then lately we've been painting this Bombshell, Tara. We've been doing some blue shadows for the area and shade, and a strong light source from this side. So I'm pretty happy with how Tara's turning out. It's definitely a more difficult paint along. Like, I'm not pulling out the punches this time. I figure if you guys are paying for $15 tier, I ought to show you some cool stuff. All right. Lying down is in permanent stretch today. Yeah. I am going to do my cat-cows, and then I will be back, folks, and we'll hydrate, and we will carry on, even though we only have another half hour or so. I really do recommend cat-cows, even if you feel like you're, like, not a very fit person. They're pretty easy. And do them slow at the beginning if you do them. There we go. Sweet. I return. Oh, and I still need to put the blue parts on her wings, too, after I do the tail tip. Stretches, I like the stretches to be about halfway through my stream, because that's at about the 45 minutes to an hour mark, and that's really when you should be stretching. When you've been sitting in one place for 45 minutes to an hour, it's good to get up, get a stretch, take a drink. Hydrate. Always hydrate. It's so important. But if you don't try to change that Val, you're never going to change it. I mean, cat-cows are pretty easy. They're just you're on your hands and knees. Get a mat, though, so you don't hurt your knees. But yeah, I mean, the first step to getting more fit is to choose to get more fit. But it's up to you. Everybody makes their own decisions about fitness, and I will not give you crap about it. If you are enemies with the floor and you wish to remain enemies with the floor, you do you. But I will also say that starting to do these stretching exercises in the morning has changed the whole game for me. Like, I sleep better because I'm stronger, which is weird. I wouldn't have ever thought that that was a correlation. But it's true. So yay. All right, let's get this wing off so it's out of the way. We know that there's a shadow from it that's going to fall right across the top of the tail, so we want to highlight this side where the light is definitely falling and just a little bit on the front. So we want to get our cyan blue plus some white, which is what we did up here for the mane. Make sure I'm in focus. Yeah. I think the key if you're like enemies with the floor and you want to eventually become friends with the floor is to start slow though, for sure. Really slow. Like trying to do one cat cow. Jelly legs, yep. Yeah, when I started doing these exercises, I was just like doing 1 or 2 of each of the things that I was doing. So I was like doing, you know, maybe 2 or 3 cat cows. Maybe 1 downward dog. And I just built it from there. So little touches. I just want to pick out these little bits of fur with the blue. And then where areas are that would get more light. Probably right down the middle. Up here I've done more waves, but here this fur is much more in kind of almost vertical waves. So I could grab a little bit of water and suggest more of a highlight. Block in more of a highlight here. Diplomatic negotiations with the floor. Yes, not head on. I would recommend just kind of getting down on its level and saying, hey, floor, I know we've had our differences, but I'm going to do a cat cow right now and do like a seated, you know, like pose, and we're not going to fight here. Now it's been over a month since I started these exercises. And I feel like my back feels so much better. And I can do so much more. It's really awesome. Keeps me doing it. Like, because believe me, I don't want to get up and go and do my floor exercises. I would rather stay in bed a little longer. But I don't want to be unfit anymore. I'm sick of it. I want to be able to do stuff. And this is part of it. I hit my end of tolerance level with the whole being unfit thing. Well, if you're falling on the floor, of course, that's so sudden. The floor doesn't have any time to catch you, Val. But yeah, I have a Pilates mat, which is a little bit thicker than a traditional yoga mat. And I like that because my knees are sensitive and they don't like it when I'm on something, kneeling on something hard. So the mat helps a lot. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where when David and I do our yoga on like Thursdays and Sundays, like I can almost keep up with it better than he can now, guys. And he could always do it better than me before. So win. Personal achievement. Because got more, I think, natural athleticism than I do. There we go. So we got a nice highlight going down the back there. And then there's a little bit of shadow because there's going to be a wing coming out right here. So I could do a little bit of cyan there, but not too much. There. And now here, we're going to get a lot. I'm going to use the side of my brush because Julie has sculpted some pretty good texture here. Just use the side of my brush to kind of suggest the little hairs. And then I can refine what I've got going on. I don't want to get it too blue. I want still nice dark black shadows. Yeah, it is really weird that since I started doing these, like, my sleep score has gone, like, really up on my Fitbit. It used to be, like, between an 80 and an 82 average for each week. And these last 2 weeks, I've been, like, 86. So, like, it started going up the week after I started the exercises. And didn't really make any other changes. So I'm pretty sure it's just that I'm stronger, so I'm more comfortable in the bed. There we go. Yay! There's the fur coming out nicely. Looks like electric sparks almost. I like it. So yeah, I would endorse core exercises if your sleep is not great. I think that it has helped me to sleep better. like, it makes me wonder how much of my past discomfort has been having maybe a poor bed, and how much has actually been that just I wasn't really strong. Like, you wouldn't think that would make a difference when you're sleeping, but apparently it does. At least for me. All right, little bit of highlighting here, just a touch. Remember, there's a shadow right on the top of the tail, so we're going to keep that dark stripe there. Sleep score. Fitbit. Gives you a sleep score. It tracks how much REM sleep, how much deep sleep, how much sleep in general you get. And then it uses an algorithm to figure out, compares you to your age group and sex group, and uses an algorithm to kind of give you a score as to whether you've got good sleep, or just fair sleep, or poor sleep, or excellent sleep. It's awesome. I got addicted to it right away, Pendrake. I love looking at my sleep score in the morning and seeing how much time I've spent dreaming and stuff like that. And it definitely likes it when I dream. Like, it gives me a better score. Yep. But yeah, I love my sleep score, and I do find that it tends to be like, if I correlate it with how I feel, like, it's pretty much on. Like, on days when I actually score a 90, which is excellent, and I've never scored higher than a 90, I do feel I usually don't check it till later in the day. I kind of assess how I feel in the morning, and then I compare with how the score actually is when I bring it up. Yeah, and how much movement, tossing and turning. Exactly, Pangine. How many times you get up and down, and how long it takes you. I do think it overestimates the amount of time that it takes me to get back to sleep, because I'm a pretty fast to sleep person. But otherwise, yeah, it's really neat. And it has proved an interesting way to track how my floor strengthening exercises have impacted my sleep. Like, I'm less likely, I think it's because I'm less likely to be uncomfortable as far as my back in the middle of the night, and so I'm not shifting around as much, and maybe that's just made my sleep score go up. Oh, nice, Val, yeah. Yeah, I love my sleep score. I'd have fun. There we go, yay, we have a tail tip, guys. We have a tail tip, and we have a slightly highlighted tail. Yay! Alright, well, let's get a little bit more highlight on that tail, since I decided I was into it today. I'm going to grab some of my rich leather, and I do want to touch up my back of the arm up here. Mixed it with a little bit of black just to make a similar color. May as well do my touch-ups where it makes sense. That's right, I was going to get this color blocked in as well, because I missed that spot. That's the area under her wing, or in the inside of her wing. And then we can get some fur on this tail. Yep. Oh, I've still got it. I won't forget, Val. Thanks. But I want to get this hair texture in here, because at this point, now we're getting very close to the point where I can actually attach the wings. So now I'm like, gung-ho, I want to do it. So I want to finish this tail. So I'm going to take my rich leather with a bit of white. Here we used a little bit of yellow also, but I think I'm just going to do this and see if I can make it work. Thinned down a bit. Get paint off my brush. And just try to see if I can get a little bit of fur texture. That's a little bit too thin, I think. You can see it, but need to be a little bit more white. Unloading my brush 60 zillion times so I can make really thin, light texture. Start here. And I just really want it right where my highlight is. There we go. Just a little bit of light. And then up here, just making little hair streaks. Just a little bit extra of texture. And a little bit of extra highlight in the same thing. So that's pretty good. And of course we've got that shadow there underneath. So I want to blend that in a little bit. I'm going to grab a little bit of this color and make some little hair streaks. Kind of blend that in. There. And a little bit of this lightweight color down here as well. I like to put the texture just on the final highlight bits when it's really subtle texture. So often I'll just kind of standard highlight and shade an area, and then at the end I will bring in more texture. There we go. That looks good. Excellent. Sweet. Yeah, that's rough, Val. All right. Get more over here. Just trying to get a little bit of touch-ups done where I can. There. Excellent. All right, let's get some blue on the inside of the wings here. Then we can attach the wings, guys. Isn't this, well, actually I can't. No, I can attach one wing, but I can't attach the other wing. Curses! Oh well. It's progress still, it's progress. Progress. Let's bring in more black on the bottom of this wing, which will allow us to touch it up a bit. Oh, David's alarm. Nope. The base is the last part usually with me, Crows and Bones. I have done the base coat and I've brought in some shading, some cooler shading. But Sphinx's base still has quite a bit of work to do on it. Like I brought in some cracks. Like I did my basic shadow pass, and I need to do another pass on the back. The back doesn't have any shading on it, but I did it on the front just to bring in some cool areas. But yeah, we got work to do on the base. So Sphinxy will have at least another week of work, if not two, probably two. Because I still need to do that wing, and then I need to start work on the base. And I'm probably gonna do some faded like paint on the base as well, like colors, as if the statuary and masonry she's sitting on used to be painted and it's worn off, just like in real life. Become worn and tattered. Oh, interesting, Val. I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, I feel like I've inhaled my share of crazy stuff over the years thanks to hobbying, so I get it. Hopefully you are enjoying your acrylics journey. I know Mercy's looking pretty good. Like, I think you should be pretty proud of Mercy, Val. I hope you enjoy how she's coming out. Val is working on a Witch Mercy Overwatch 3D print. Of course, Mercy is I pretty much am a Mercy main on Overwatch, so I've branched out a little bit, but I still play a lot of Mercy. So I'm fond of this statue. There we go. Yeah, it's pretty easy to do that on stonework like this too, Crows. I mean, it's really just it's glazing colors for the most part, and then suggesting some wear in key places. All right, so we've got some nice black wing tips now. I'm going to bring in this tip just a little bit more too. And then we will put on some blue. Just want to make, even though these guys won't get blue on them, they can still have that black tip. There. All right. Excellent. Good. Yeah, I have the Mercy. I have the Blizzard pre-paint Mercy. I was going to repaint at some point. But lately I've been preoccupied from Patreonage and Twitch and this job and all the rest of it. I'm preoccupied with other projects. That's okay. Soldier was still a good project. I've done it once, I'll do it again. Alright, so let's look at our wet pattern on the other side. We did a chevron, we did a little higher up. I need to touch up that black. So we'll do the chevron again here. Maybe a little bit lower down. Maybe we'll make it a little bigger because it's not going to be... The rest of the wing is a little bit less exciting than it was on the other side. So we can fancy it up a little bit more over here. Yeah, that's good, Val. Nothing makes me happier than to have people like learn stuff and be happy with their painting, so that's great. So now you have to figure out your next projects. And since you are one of those 3D printer people, I suspect that will be like difficult because you have 60 zillion of them. There we go, and then I think I was going to do the end one too. Shouldn't need to. I mean, Pan, I answered this a little bit earlier, but I'll say it again. If I was keeping Sphinx, I wouldn't bother to seal her at all. In my experience, and glazes are no different here, Rapid Master Series paint sticks very well to the model and really doesn't need it. Like I've had maybe 2 or 3 areas of rub off, and it's tiny rub off. And that's from me handling this, like, constantly during the course of painting it. So, if it's a display model, I don't need to seal it. But if I decide to sell this on my Patreon, which I'm thinking about, because I'm doing a miniatures sale in May, then I will definitely seal it, because it will be going in the mail to somebody. Yeah. So yeah, I'll seal it if I'm going to be shipping it, because then I find there is more wear and tear. I'm going to actually fix this tip since I have the blackout. There. There we go. But yeah, I'm not really a believer in sealing minis. I don't seal anymore unless it's going to be shipped. I just don't find it necessary. Master Series has enough adhesion. Like, I will never be handling the model again the same level that I'm handling it to paint it. And if I get so little rub off when I'm painting it and doing that, then I'm like, I don't have to seal the model. I might seal the wingtips, because that's, you know, a place that has proven prone to rub off. But even then, after I get her finally constructed, that may not be a danger point anymore. So, yeah, I stopped sealing my models when I started using MSP. Because, one, I really like the finish on MSP, and I don't really want it to be a different finish. And finding a sealer that is the same finish as the paint you're using can sometimes be a pain in the butt. And then I just noticed that I didn't really need it. And sealers can sometimes do annoying things. Like, I've found that aerosol sealers will sometimes, like, dull your highlights, and you have to re-highlight things, which is really annoying if you've put a ton of work into highlights, like I usually do. Like, having to repaint one entire step of the model is not my idea of fun. So that pretty much stopped me from using spray sealers once I got a paint that would adhere really well. Because every paint, the base is going to have a different adhesion. And by adhesion, I'm saying how easily or more difficult it is for the paint to rub off of the model. How well the paint sticks to the model. And Master Series, I purposefully went with a base that had a higher adhesion than a lot of the other paints on the market. So your paint should stick better to the model. Yes, that's because of our base component. The resin that is used in our base is not a soft resin. Vallejo uses more of a vinyl type resin. It's a very soft resin. It gives it that kind of plasticky look and also that thick feel. but it doesn't stick very well at all, especially not if you're using thin applications. Whereas Master Series, honestly, if I'm putting a glaze over an already established layer of paint, that glaze isn't going to rub off. It's bonding to the paint. Like, paint layers will bond to each other very, very tightly. So it maybe if I was putting a glaze over plastic, then I would have a problem, because then it would definitely rub off a little bit easier. But I put full strength paint down as my first layer. Everything else goes over the top of that. I mean, these dark shadows are glazes, but they're not rubbing off any easier or you know, not than the standard thick paint. Because so once you've got that thick paint down, every additional layer of paint, no matter how thin it is going to stick. Unless you're using something, if your glazing is more like using pigments, like powdered pigments, then you need to put a fixative over them. Oh no. Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna keep edges perfect. For me, Herumstein is just like, though, do I mind touching up my edges every once in a while? Even if I seal it, I'm probably gonna have to touch up my edges every once in a while. So in that case, it's just like, why would I seal? I'm just like, I've gotten to the point where I really don't like the effect that sealers have on the look of the model that I do. So I've just gotten out of the habit. Like I said, brush on sealer is the most, I will bow and use brush on sealer every once in a while. But then again, you're also gaming with your models, you know, where I'm not really gaming with my models. And the models that if I am gaming with them, then I may consider doing a sealer. Yeah, I'm totally skipping this. I totally skip sealer for most of what I do. Most of what I do is display. Because that's what I like to paint. So. Alrighty. Now we're going to highlight these little feather quills. Once again, you don't have to be precise about actually hitting each of these. You can just have your brush moving in the right direction, and it will probably look just fine. If you can hit all the quills, then sure. Then it might give you pleasure to be able to hit each of these tiny little bits coming off from the central point, but in general, you don't have to. Yeah, long ago, my friends and I discovered when we were doing Golden Demons that often a sealer coat would make more problems than anything for a display model. So a lot of us stopped sealing our competition pieces. Even then, though, I think if I was going to sell one of my competition pieces, I would seal it. I would just use brush on. Because I really feel like that's the least intrusive strengthening measure. There we go. Got some nice highlights. A little bit more white, I think, on the very, very tips. And just a little bit, because here's where, out on the end of these feathers, that's where light's going to start to come through. Transmitted light. So a little extra highlight on the edges never hurts. Just a tiny little highlight. This is mostly white, just a little bit of cyan in it. It's a very pale blue. And I'm just nicking the very outer edges of the feathers. There we go. So that looks nice. Sweet. Let's make sure I did that on the other side, because I just blocked these feathers in and I didn't actually go and do all the highlighting. So I'll go back in and get them colored in, and then I'll do a little bit of that on these little wing spots too. Kind of like, they're more like butterfly patterns, these little wing spots. It's the kind of thing I would see on a butterfly wing, but the original bird does have those spots, just not blue. They're black. If we can just get all this stuff done and highlight a bit of the edges of these dark feathers, then we're good to glue a wing on. Then we just have the other wing. But yeah, so I'm happy and sad that we're getting done with Sphinx. I mean, we still have a few more weeks. I will miss painting Sphinx. She's been a very fun model. And lots of different things to talk about. I mean, that's the nicest thing for me is because, you know, since I'm teaching on these streams, I like to be able to talk about a lot of different things. And Sphinx has had a lot of different stuff to talk about. We don't often have a feathers. You know, we don't get time to talk about feathers and fur texture. Once I get my, once the Bones Kickstarter is shipping, I get those Kid Adventurers. We're probably going to do some of those too, because I love them. We can do some, give Christine some love, do some of her models on the stream. Oh no, Kariniko. That's too bad. Hey, Julie, you made it! And Bob! Look, Julie, look, we're about to attach a wing! I'm just doing final highlights. And I did all her jewelry, and we got her back fur done. Here, let me put one wing on. And we got her claws. Her claws got a manicure. And all of the jewelry got done. And look, she has a tail tip now, and fur. And so I'm just doing highlights on the wing, the outer flight feathers, and the blue. She's coming off her block. So yeah, so we're about to, like, this is the wing then that'll be done. And I still need to do the interior on here and the blue. But we can do that on a different day. And then we'll work on the base. But yeah, she's almost done. She is almost done. So we've got all that nice blue coming in there. I'm pretty happy with this. Now we got to get the back of this. But yeah, I'm excited. Like I was just saying how much I was going to miss this model, Julie, because it's been so much fun to paint. And we've had so many different things to talk about. From non-metallic metal to dark skin tones to like feather texture and fur texture. It's been awesome. So this is a very fun model to paint. I would recommend this model to anybody looking for a variety of surfaces. So again, we're going to just hit the edges here. And you don't have to hit all the little feathers exactly, feather bits exactly. You just have to go in the right direction. Yeah, she's really cool. Well, and we got to talk faces and eyes too, because she has such a great face and big eyes to work on. So we're able to do colored irises. I mean, she's really a model that has a lot of different things that you can practice on her. Like, I would almost use her as a class model if I was doing, like, a general 2-day seminar. Because she has a lot to offer as far as, like, addressing lots of different topics. Yeah, I'm glad you like her. I'll have to take some really good pictures before I sell her. She's probably going to go to her private home and send the pictures to Ron or John so that he has them. So that Reaper at least has pictures of her to put up online. I'm just going to do a little bit of highlights here on the blue there, just to give it a little bit of a touch up. Now, I also doing a little bit of highlights out here on the ends of these feathers, just to give them a little bit of a touch up, a little bit of lift. And this is just a blue gray, similar to what I used on the claws. I just want to bring up these areas a little bit. So that's not all flat. And since I've mentioned it a bit today, my Patreon is patreon.com/paintingbig. I have like over 2 years of content right now, so it's a good time to join. There's a lot of stuff for you to watch and read. And we'll be doing some special offers. If you're holding off, we'll do some special offers in May, giving you extra stuff. But of course, if you join now, you still get in on those special offers. Existing patrons still get those stuff. It's just an incentive for new people to join. Oh yeah, African Harrier Hawk. Sorry, Sarducci. It's all African Harrier Hawk, both front and back, although we changed it a bit to add this dark panel at the top of the inner wing because I judged that I needed it for color composition on her. So I always start with a actual animal, but then if I have to vary from it, if I have to break away from that to make the model look better, I will make small modifications. Same as doing these little blue touches. It suits Sphinx better, so I'm doing them even though they're not on the original bird. I need a little bit more water in this, I think. Oh dear, it's 1/4 after. I'm being terrible about running late lately. All right, well, let me at least get the tips of these feathers. Ha! I didn't even see that, Quindy, and I was like... Yeah, because there definitely is a limit as to how much I want to do because I have more stuff to do this morning. And then I have to edit videos this afternoon. Lots of video editing and working on my new PDF for my my Sky Earth NMM. Because that's another special offer. Lots of stuff. I'm going to be doing so many things on my Patreon in May, guys. Model sales, new extra long awesome tutorial, and even some online class signups. All right. There we go. Alrighty. Get the glue. Glue, where are you? There you are. We'll use the, since this fits in so well, I'm just going to use my Zap-A-Gap. So I'm just going to put a blob in there. Nice big blob in there because the wing fits in really well. So I don't want too much because I don't want it to squoosh all out, but there is probably a little bit of give. There we go. Perfect. 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 Look, we have a wing. We don't have liftoff yet because we only have one wing. Ah! She's going to fall on her nose to celebrate. Sphinx got a little tipsy there. And that's the back. So we can see how the color on the haunch here definitely plays off the color of the wing there. And then we've got our blue coming all the way out. Yeah, exactly, Val. But it's you think that that's a lot of time, but it's really not. Like, I'm leaving myself that much time because I know how much time I have to put in because I still have to do my other Patreon stuff. I still have to work on commissions because I'm trying to get commissions, like, taken care of. So, yeah. Yay! Sphinx! And then next time we will work on the other wing and getting it to the level of the first wing. And then we will be able to put both wings on. Ah! That wing is definitely not attached. This is the loose wing that likes to fall off. So yeah, we got a lot of highlighting to do on this wing, a lot of shading to do on this wing, to bring it in line with the other wing. And yeah, this is exciting. Excitement. There's Sphinxy. Oh, she's good. She's all touched up. Yeah, she is looking good. She's really cool. And having that wing in means you can turn the model to the side and still have fun stuff to look at, right? Because the wing has enough detail that it's cool. So now, when you look at the model from the side, you'll be able to see things. So she no longer has just 2 viewing angles, right? Putting the wings in has given us another viewing angle. So it's not just front and back anymore. Now we have a side view on both sides. So sometimes that happens when you've got a very complex model with lots of dynamic parts that you glue together. Some of the big GW monsters are like this, is you'd think you've got a front and a back viewing angle, and then you add all the wings and tentacles or, you know, extra weapons and whatever, and suddenly the model is very interesting from a bunch of different angles. So, Nomad Zeke, if you run into that and it stops you from starting it, then the answer is to go with a very different color scheme than I did. Like, take her dark on the body and really light in the hair, because you could do the inverse. You could do the black lion kind of thing and go lighter with her skin, a little bit lighter, more golden, like Zari's skin. And then take her mane like almost blonde or dark blonde with lighter blonde highlights. Like, that was another option that I almost did. So that's, if you find that you really want to paint a model, but somebody else has painted the model and it looks so good, just inverse the color scheme. So everything they did light, do dark. Everything they did dark, you do light. See if you can come up with a good color scheme like that. That freshens up your interest in it, and you aren't comparing it all the time. Okay. There we go. So thanks, everybody. So today we did a lot. We finished up the jewelry, and we talked a bit about that. We finished up her claws for contrast. We did the tail tip. We checked the wing lighting, thanks to Pendrake. Or no, Cranston. Cranston was the one who suggested there might be a weird shadow that I needed to double check from the wing, and that was very helpful. And we did some fur texture. We finished up wing highlights and the back of her mane. Wow, we did a lot. We touched up. We talked about sealers. All that awesome. Tomorrow is Dancing Girl Day. We'll finish our Persian rug and our sand. And she'll be done except for the dish. So I may even start Lizette tomorrow. We'll see. Haha, that can be a thing, Nomad Zeke. Good deal. All right, Reaper, who are we going to raid today? I had to get out and walk and make lunch. Yay, Reaper is on it, and it's Zambies. Fantastic. I love Zambies. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. This was a fun stream, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, have a lovely day.